好，就趁有时间，我就来去跑一下我们该跑的东西哦。就是好不容易把这个解开了哈，然后门开了，这是最后一个影片的那个图。然后呢，这个影片大概1个小时，所以呢，对，我们等一下花1个小时看影片。而且重点是，因为有个地图炮，就是在那个影片上，所以开始的时候是起点，然后影片播完的时候是终点，所以我们就是得把那1小时看完。好啦，然后先把这里的收集完毕，这里有一个，瞧一下角度。好，然后想要先去看影片的话，就走这边比较近。这边离戏院其实很近。哦，对，然后有一个会利用到这个通道。我们先解这个吧，但是这个我们等一下先下去。我不确定这个到底能不能，因为那要慢慢等，其实很浪费时间。可是这好像是我唯一上去的方法，所以没办法。我只能再看一次了。还没有办法加速。这里，然后我们就在这里等，因为这里控制不到面板，对啊，控制不到面板。这两个比较麻烦的地方，很讨厌的地方就是这样，就是你就只能等。对啊。有点浪费时间。准备好这个位置吧。哦 ，yes， good， 就这样。还好我有接到，不然再重等一次。耶、yeah ！我在想，我们是要先看第4个影片，直冲这1个小时呢，还是第4个影片先留着，先去跑最后一个？你看影片好了，不然我等一下想睡觉就惨了。直接去开最后一个影片。想一下，我看一下，它好像有一个那个位置。想一下，看一下哈。 看一下怎么那个。它是。然后，它所谓的是指所以就是我先把那个拨起来。它这个就知道它有多长。好，不够。可是为了解这个，你会有一点，就是你其实不太会知道它到底在播什么。对，因为你是从后面看这个东西，可能就会有点不知道它到底在播什么。要 ，yes， 就这样。好，然后我们就要像放在这里放1个小时。我要先关麦了，因为我觉得开了麦没有用，我不想讲1个小时空话，就自己看影片吧。
I wouldn't have seen a thing. That work I couldn't get out of was my first job out of college. A sales clerk at an old Radio Shack store in beautiful downtown Worcester, Massachusetts. On my very first day behind the counter, a delivery truck pulled up to the front of the store. They carried in a big carton, upon which was printed the legend TRS-80. It was our floor sample of the world's first mass-market microcomputer. The TRS-80 Model 1 had a Z80 processor clocked at 1.7 MHz, 4,096 bytes of memory, and a 64-character black and white text display. The only storage was a cassette recorder. All this could be yours for the low, low price of $599. The store I was working in had seen better days. At one time, it had been near the center of a thriving commercial district. But like so many other New England cities, the advent of shopping malls had, by the early 70s, turned it into a ghost town. Worcester's solution to this problem was decisive, to say the least. The city's elders apparently decided that if they couldn't beat them, they would join them. And so, several square blocks at the heart of the city were bulldozed into oblivion, destroying dozens of family businesses, including the site of a pharmacy once operated by my great-grandfather. In their place was erected a vast 3-level shopping complex with cinemas and a food court. When the dust settled, only a few forlorn blocks of the old Worcester remained standing. My Radio Shack store was in one of those blocks. Then, to add insult to injury, Radio Shack opened a brand new location inside the shopping center, less than 500 feet from my store. So now patrons had a choice between a clean, well-lighted establishment with uniformed security and acres of convenient parking, or a shadowy hole in a seedy old office building next to an adult movie theater. Consequently, I had plenty of time to fool around with the new computer. I taught myself basic programming. Then I learned Z80 assembly. Both, of course, so that I could write games. I also created self-running animated demos, which ran all night in the store window for the edification of the winos who peed in our doorway. Strangely enough, the few customers we had didn't seem to be interested in our new computer, even after the 16K memory upgrade. In fact, most of the people who set off the buzzer on their way through the front door weren't there to buy anything at all. They were there to exploit a free promotion, which was the bane of Radio Shack employees for over 40 years. The Battery of the Month Club. The idea of this promotion was simple. Customers got a little red card upon which was printed a square for each month. 12 times a year, the lucky sales clerk got to punch out a square and give the customer one brand new AAA, AA, C, D, or 9-volt battery. Of course, customers weren't allowed to choose just any grade of battery. At the time of my employment, Radio Shack offered 3 different levels of battery excellence. First were the alkalines, powerful, long-lasting, and expensive, hanging behind the counter like prescription medication in gold-embossed blister packs. These were most certainly not available through the Battery of the Month Club. Next were the high-end lead batteries, sturdy, dependable batteries, moderately priced, and prominently displayed near the front of the store. These were also not available through the Battery of the Month Club. Finally, at the bottom of the barrel were the standard lead batteries. These were literally piled in barrels, cunningly located way at the back of the store, in a dark corner near the TV antennas. Remember TV antennas? Customers who came in looking for their free Battery of the Month had to walk the entire length of the premises, past the CB radios and stereo headphones and remote-controlled racing cars. Nothing would stop them. On the first day of every month, like clockwork, those customers came in waving their little red cards. I would look up from my programming and wave them to the back of the store. It didn't matter that the batteries were only worth 29 cents. It didn't matter that most of them were already half dead. They came, they grabbed. And as far as I can remember, not one of them ever paid for a damned thing. I was such a crappy salesman. I was young and foolish. I thought my education in game design was happening at the keyboard. I almost missed the lesson coming through the front door. Fortunately, I wasn't the only person fooling around with games on micros. All over the country, people like me were experimenting. Scott Adams was coding what would soon become the world's first commercial adventure game. Remember adventure games? My future employer, Infocom, was being founded, along with other legendary companies like Online Systems, Sirius, Personal Software, and SSI. Those were exciting times. Teenagers were making fortunes. Games were cheap and easy to build. The slate was clean. But in 1979, the biggest news in gaming had nothing to do with computers. On the morning of the autumn equinox, September 20th, a new children's picture book appeared in the stores of Great Britain. This picture book was rather peculiar. It consisted of 15 meticulously detailed color paintings, illustrating a slight, whimsical tale about a rabbit delivering a jewel to the moon. On the back jacket of the book was a color photograph of a real jewel, shaped like a running rabbit, 5 inches long, fashioned of 18-karat gold, suspended with ornaments and bells, together with a sun and moon of blue quartz. According to the blurb underneath, this very jewel had been buried somewhere in England. Clues pointing to its location were concealed in the text and in the pictures of the book. The treasure would belong to whoever found it first. The book was called Masquerade. It was created by an eccentric little man with divergent eyes and a talent for mischief named Kit Williams. Within days, the first printing was sold out, and the empire that never sleeps found itself in the grip of rabbit fever. Excited readers attacked the paintings with rulers, compasses, and protractors. Magazine articles and TV specials dissected the clues, floated theories, and followed with keen delight the reckless exploits of the fanatics. One obscure park, unfortunately known by the nickname Rabbit Hill, was so riddled with holes excavated by misguided treasure seekers that the authorities had to erect signs assuring the public that no gold rabbits were to be found there. Some hunters ended up seeking psychological counseling for their obsession. The craze leapt over the Atlantic Ocean and invaded America, France, Italy, and Germany. It sold over 1 million copies in a few months, a record unrivaled by any children's title until the advent of Harry Potter. Over 150,000 copies were sold in foreign translations, including 80,000 copies in Japanese, despite the fact that the puzzle was only solvable in English. It didn't matter that the masquerade jewel was only worth a few $1,000s. Many seekers spent far more than that in their months of exploration and travel. It was the thrill of the chase, the possibility of being the one. Treasure hunts, secret messages, and hidden things seem to exert an irresistible appeal. They're fun to look for and to talk about, and this fact of human psychology has been exploited in computer games since the earliest days. It finds expression in the hidden surprises we call Easter eggs. Atari's Stephen Wright is credited with coining this term in the first issue of Electronic Games magazine. The first Easter egg in a commercial computer game appeared in an early Atari 2600 cartridge called, simply enough, Adventure. By a sequence of unlikely movements and obscure manipulations, players could discover a secret room where the words "Created by Warren Robinette" appeared in flashing letters. Over the decades, Easter eggs and their evil twin, cheat codes, have become an industry within an industry. Entire magazines and websites are now devoted to their carefully orchestrated discovery and dissemination. They're part of our toolkit, our basic vocabulary, the language of computer game design. Computer gamers may have been the first to refer to hidden surprises as Easter eggs, but we certainly weren't the first to use them. Painters, composers, and artists of every discipline have been hiding stuff in their works for centuries. The recent advent of VCRs and Laserdisc players with freeze-frame capability exposed decades of secret Disney erotica. Thomas Kincaid, the self-appointed painter of light, amuses himself by hiding the letter N in his works. A number beside his signature indicates how many N's are hidden in each painting. Picasso, Dali, Raphael, Poussin, and dozens of other painters concealed all kinds of stuff in their paintings. A favorite trick was hiding portraits of themselves, their families, friends, and fellow artists in crowd scenes. El Greco loved dogs, but the Catholic Church forbid him from including any in his sacred paintings. So he hid them, usually within the outlines of celestial clouds. Composer Dmitri Shostakovich chafed under the political censorship imposed by the Soviet Ministry of Culture. His symphonies and chamber works are loaded with hidden signatures and subversive subtexts which, had they been recognized, would have sent him to Siberia. Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, is filled with musical allusions to the rituals of the Freemasons, the ancient secret society of which he and his mentor Haydn were members. But the most famous purveyor of Easter eggs is that champion of the late Baroque, the ultimate musical nerd, Johann Sebastian Bach. Bach was a student of gematria, the art of assigning numeric values to letters of the alphabet. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, etc. By comparing, sequencing, or otherwise manipulating these numbers, secret messages can be concealed. Bach took particular delight in the geometrical numbers 14 and 41. 14 is the sum of the initials of his last name. B equals 2, A equals 1, C equals 3, and H equals 8. 41 is the sum of his expanded initials, J.S. Bach. These two numbers show up over and over again in Bach's compositions. One of the better-known examples is his setting of the chorale Vor deinem Thron. The first line of the melody contains exactly 14 notes, and the entire melody, from start to finish, contains 41. Another of Bach's favorite games was the puzzle canon. A canon is a melody that sounds good when you play it on top of itself, a little bit out of sync. Frere Jacques and Row, Row, Row Your Boat are familiar examples of simple two-voice canons. But a canon can employ any number of voices, and you don't have to play each voice the same way either. You can change the octave, transpose the key, invert the pitch, play it backwards, or any combination. Finding melodies that make good multi-voice canons is a fussy and difficult art, of which Bach was an undisputed master. Now, in a puzzle canon, the composer specifies the basic melody and the number of voices, but not the relationship of the voices. The student has to figure out the position and key of each voice, and whether to perform them inverted and/or backwards. Bach wrote quite a number of puzzle canons. The most famous, BWV 1076, is part of a fascinating story. One of Bach's students was a fellow by the name of Lorenz Misler, founder of the Society of Musical Science. This elite, invitation-only institution devoted itself to the study of Pythagorean philosophy and the union of music and mathematics. Its distinguished membership reads like a who's who of German composers, including Handel, Telemann, and eventually Mozart. Applicants for membership in the society were required to submit an oil portrait of themselves, along with a specimen of original music. With nerdly efficiency, Society member number 14 decided to combine these admission requirements into a single work. He sat for a portrait with Elias Haussmann, official artist at the court of Dresden. This portrait, which now hangs in the gallery of the town hall in Leipzig, is the only indisputably authentic image of Bach in existence. The Haussmann portrait shows Bach dressed in a formal coat with exactly 14 buttons. In his hand is a sheet of music paper, upon which is written a puzzle canon for 6 simultaneous voices. In 1974, a manuscript was discovered which proved that this canon was the 13th in a series of exactly 14 canons based on the ground theme of the famous Goldberg variations. As if these musical gymnastics weren't enough, Bach liked to hide messages in his compositions by assigning notes to the letters. His initials, B-A-C-H, correspond to the pitch sequence B-flat, A, C, and B natural in German letter notation. This theme makes its most memorable appearance in the last bars of his final composition, The Art of Fugue, published soon after his death in 1750. The word fugue comes from the Latin fuga, which means flight, as in running away. So the art of fugue is the art of flight, the art of taking a theme and running with it. Bach wrote hundreds of fugues, but none as sublime as this sequence of 14. In the last and most complicated fugue in the series, the first and second sections develop normally. This is followed by the B-A-C-H signature, and then suddenly, without any warning or structural justification, the fugue stops, dead in its tracks. One of the composer's 20 children, his son Carl Philipp Emanuel, claimed that Bach died moments after those last few notes were written. This story is probably apocryphal. The Easter eggs in Bach's music are a pleasant obscurity, known chiefly to professors and students of Baroque music. But in March of 2002, when this lecture was first delivered, those Easter eggs were the talk of the entire classical music industry. Sitting near the top of the classical music charts that month was a compact disc on the ECM label called Mortimer. It was performed by the Hilliard Choral Ensemble, together with a talented but, until then, little-known violinist, Christoph Poppen. The music on Mortimer is based on a geometriacal analysis of Bach's Partita in D minor for solo violin. This analysis, by German professor Helga Thon, assigns numeric values to the duration of notes, the number of bars, and the German letter notation of the partita. In doing so, she claims to have discovered the complete text of several liturgical ceremonies encoded in the notes. The CD presented these hidden texts superimposed over the original music. The result was strangely melancholy, dark, haunting, and very, very popular. Quite a few music critics attacked this disc. They didn't buy Professor Thon's analysis, dismissing it as a combination of numerology and canny marketing. Their caution was not without basis. Numerology is a slippery slope down which many a fine mind has slid to its doom. Allow me to offer an amusing anecdote from my own experience. Back in the early 90s, before the internet took off, one of the more popular online bulletin board systems was a service called Prodigy. I bought an account on Prodigy so I could join a fraternal interest group and gossip with fellow members around the country. One day, a stranger appeared on our bulletin board. Right away, I knew we were in trouble. This fellow, whose name was Gary, began spouting all kinds of apocalyptic nonsense about worldwide conspiracies, secret societies, and devil worship. At first, we tried to be polite. We questioned his sources, corrected his histories, logically refuted his claims, and tried to behave in a civilized manner. But instead of soothing him, our attention only made him worse. His conspiratorial warnings became urgent, approaching hysteria. He began to threaten people who disagreed with him. To coin a phrase, Gary went all uppercase. But his most urgent warnings weren't about the gays, the Jews, the Rockefellers, or the Illuminati. According to Gary, the greatest enemy of mankind was Santa Claus. Gary claimed to possess a secret numerical formula that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Santa Claus was an avatar of the Antichrist. Intrigued, we pressed Gary to reveal his formula. In doing so, we walked right into his trap. We should have known he had a book to sell. I fell for it. I sent him the $15. Less than a week later, the book arrived. Above an ominous photograph of the Washington Monument was emblazoned the title, 666, The Final Warning. Inside this privately printed 494-page monster, Gary reveals a simple geometriacal formula, which he claims was developed by the ancient Sumerians. This formula assigns successive products of 6 to each letter of the alphabet. A equals 6, B equals 12, C equals 18, etc. Imagine my dismay when I applied this ancient formula to the name Santa Claus and obtained the blasphemous sum of 666, the biblical number of the beast. I went on Prodigy and reported to the stunned members of our interest group that Gary was right after all. There could be no doubt that according to the unimpeachable wisdom of ancient Samaria, Santa Claus was the Antichrist. I then went on to point out several other names which, when submitted to Gary's formula, also produced the sum 666. Names like St. James, New York, and New Mexico. Soon the bulletin board was filled with discoveries like computer, Boston tea, And most sinister of all, sing karaoke. Gary left us alone after that. I got my $15 worth. But Gary is hardly the first person to connect secret codes to the Bible. People have been looking for Easter eggs in the Bible for hundreds of years. The Hebrew mystical tradition of Kabbalah can be described as a geometrical meditation on the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. The advent of computers has made the application of numerology to the Bible fast and efficient. The latest spate of Bible searching was instigated by a book published in 1998 by Michael Drosnin, a former Wall Street Journal reporter. His book, The Bible Code, applied a skip cipher in which every nth character in a text is combined to form a message. By applying his skip cipher to the Hebrew text of the Old Testament, Drosnin claimed to have discovered predictions of World War II, the Holocaust, Hiroshima, the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin and both Kennedys, the moon landing, Watergate, the Oklahoma City bombing, the election of Bill Clinton, the death of Princess Di, and the comet that collided with Jupiter. He also found predictions of a giant earthquake in LA, a meteor hitting the Earth, and nuclear Armageddon, all scheduled to occur before the end of the last decade. The Bible Code spent many weeks on the bestseller lists, spawning several sequels and dozens of imitators. The Bible has certainly attracted its share of crackpots, but for the real hardcore egg hunters, nothing can rival the ingenuity, the tenacious scholarship, the stubborn zeal of those who seek the answer to the ultimate literary puzzle, a poisonous conundrum that has squandered fortunes, destroyed careers, and driven healthy, intelligent scholars to the brink of madness and beyond. Who wrote Shakespeare? The essays and books devoted to the Shakespeare authorship problem are sufficient to fill a large library. Several such libraries actually exist. Not even a day-long tutorial, much less an hour lecture, can begin to do justice to this complex, bizarre, and dangerously tantalizing story. Nevertheless, for the unacquainted, I will attempt to summarize the issue in a few paragraphs. The undisputed facts of Shakespeare's life and career could be scribbled on the back of a cocktail napkin. We know for a fact that a man named William Shakespeare was born in 1564 in or around the village of Stratford-upon-Avon. We know that he had a wife and at least 3 children. We know he bought property in Stratford, was involved in several lawsuits with his neighbors, and died there in 1616, aged 52. We also know that during those same years, a man with a last name similar to Shakespeare worked as an actor on the London stage, eventually becoming co-owner of some of the theaters there. We also know that about the same time, a number of most excellent poems and plays were published in London under the name Shakespeare. We do not know for a fact that the landowner in Stratford and the actor in London with a similar last name were one and the same man. We do not know for a fact that either man had anything to do with the poems and the plays. All we know is that those poems and plays have, in the 400 years since their composition, come to be regarded as a pinnacle of Western culture. The works attributed to Shakespeare appear to have been written by a man or woman who knew something about just about everything. They're filled with references to mythology and classic literature, games and sports, war and weapons of war, ships and sailing, the law and legal terminology, court etiquette, statesmanship, horticulture, music, astronomy, medicine, falconry, and, of course, theater. Therein lies the problem. How could a farmer's son of uncertain schooling, from a mostly illiterate country village, A man of practically no account at all wielded such encyclopedic learning, with so much eloquence and wit, so much wisdom and human understanding. For the first 150 years, nobody questioned the traditional history of the bard. Then, in the late 18th century, Reverend James Wilmot, a distinguished scholar who lived just a few miles north of Stratford, decided to write a biography of the famous playwright. Dr. Wilmot believed that a man as well educated as Shakespeare must have owned a fairly extensive library, despite the fact that not a single book or manuscript is mentioned in his will. Over the years, he speculated, some of those books must have found their way into local collections. And so, the good Reverend Doctor scoured the British countryside, taking inventory of literally every bookshelf within 50 miles of Stratford. Not a single book from the library of William Shakespeare was discovered. Neither were there found any letters to, from, or about Shakespeare. Furthermore, no references to the folklore, local sayings, or distinctive dialect of the Stratford area could be found in any of Shakespeare's writings. After 4 years of painstaking research, Dr. Wilmot concluded, to his own dismay, that only one person contemporary with Shakespeare of Stratford had ever demonstrated the wide-ranging education and expressive talent needed to compose those poems and plays. That man was the multilingual author, philosopher, and statesman, inventor of the scientific method, chancellor to the courts of Queen Elizabeth and King James, Sir Francis Bacon. Dr. Wilmot never dared to publish his theory, but before he died, he confided it to a friend, James Cowell, who, in 1805, repeated it to a meeting of the Ipswich Philosophical Society. The members of the society were suitably outraged, and the scandalous matter was quickly forgotten. Then, in 1857, a lady from Stratford, Connecticut, published a book called The Philosophy of the Plays of Shakespeare Unfolded. In this book, Miss Delia Bacon, no relation to Francis, claimed that the works of Shakespeare were written by a secret cabal of British nobility, including Sir Walter Raleigh and Sir Philip Sidney, as well as Sir Francis Bacon. Delia Bacon's book electrified the world of letters. Battle lines were drawn between the orthodox Stratfordians and the heretical Baconians. Literary societies and scholarly journals were formed to debate the evidence. Hundreds of pamphlets, newspaper articles, and essays were published defending each side and ridiculing the opposition with that self-aggrandizing viciousness peculiar to tenured academics. Armed with her explosive book, Delia Bacon journeyed to Stratford-upon-Avon and, unbelievably, obtained official permission to open Shakespeare's grave. However, when the moment came to actually lift the stone, Delia's self-doubt precipitated a catastrophic nervous breakdown. She later died penniless in a madhouse. Around 1888, things began to get a bit out of hand. U.S. Congressman Ignatius Donnelly of Minnesota became interested in the Shakespeare controversy. One day, browsing through his facsimile copy of the First Folio of 1623, he noted that the word bacon appeared on page 53 of the Histories and also on page 53 of the Comedies. He also noted that Sir Francis Bacon had written extensively on the subject of cryptography. Donnelly began counting line and page numbers, adding and subtracting letters, drawing lines over sentences, circling words, and crossing them out. The result was a complex and virtually incomprehensible algorithm, which he claimed was invented by Bacon to hide secret messages inside the First Folio. The greatest Easter egg hunt in the history of Western civilization had begun. Here are just a couple of the sillier highlights. A doctor named Orville Owen of Detroit constructed a bizarre research tool he called the Wheel of Fortune. This wheel consisted of 2 giant wooden spools wrapped with a strip of canvas 2 feet wide and 1,000 feet long. Onto this canvas, he glued the separate pages of the complete works of Bacon, Shakespeare, Marlowe, Greene, Peele, and Spenser, together with Burton's Anatomy of Melancholy. By cranking the spools back and forth, Dr. Owen could quickly zip across the pages in search of clues and cross-references. Employing a large team of secretaries and stenographers, Owen claimed to have uncovered a complete alternative history of Elizabethan England, as well as several entirely new Shakespeare plays and sonnets. Listen to this hidden verse, supposedly penned by the mighty bard himself, which inspired Dr. Owen to build his Wheel of Fortune. Take your knife and cut all our books asunder, and set the leaves on a great firm wheel, which rolls and rolls, and turning the fickle rolling wheel, throw your eyes upon Fortune, that goddess blind, that stands upon a spherical stone, that turning and inconstant rolls in restless variation. After publishing 5 thick volumes of this rubbish, Owen announced the discovery of an anagram, indicating that Bacon's original manuscripts were buried near Chepstow Castle on the River Wye. Owen spent the next 15 years and thousands of dollars excavating the bed of the river with boat crews and high explosives. He died before anything was found. A fellow named Arnsberg wrote an entire book based on the analysis of the significance of a suspicious crack in the tomb of Bacon's mother. A Ray of Sanity finally appeared in 1957. To those familiar with the science of cryptology, the name William Friedman needs little introduction. He is credited with cracking the Japanese Empire's most sensitive cipher. After the war, the colonel decided to apply his expertise to the study of the Shakespeare ciphers. He interviewed several of the experts in the field and prepared a detailed scientific analysis, which he published under the title The Shakespeare Ciphers Examined. His conclusion? In a word, bunk. According to the standards of cryptologic science, not one of the hidden messages purportedly discovered in Shakespeare's works was plausible. The rules used to extract these messages from the texts were non-rigorous, wildly subjective, and unrepeatable by anyone except the original decipherer. The people involved were not being dishonest. They were channeling their preconceptions. They were trapped in a labyrinth of delusion, mining order from chaos. Anglers in a lake of darkness. Lear, Act 3, Scene 6. You would think that Friedman's cold and ruthless exposure would be enough to silence the heretics once and for all. Not a chance. The books and TV specials and websites and conferences and doctoral dissertations keep right on coming. I should point out that the Shakespeare authorship issue is not only the preoccupation of cranks and weirdos. A substantial number of respected authors and Shakespeareans have expressed serious doubts about the traditional origin of the plays. The list includes Nathaniel Hawthorne, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Walt Whitman, Henry James, Sam Clemens, Sigmund Freud, Orson Welles, and Sir John Gielgud. Living skeptics include the artistic director of the New Globe Theatre, Mark Rylance, Michael York, Derek Jacobi, Kenneth Branagh, and even that most revered and scholarly of contemporary Shakespearean actors, Keanu Reeves. The current leading candidate for the authorship is Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, a theory first proposed in 1920 by an English schoolmaster with the unfortunate name J. Thomas Looney. What is it about Bach, the Bible, and the works of Shakespeare that inspires this intense scrutiny. Nobody's looking for acrostics in Chaucer or Keats. There are no hit CDs of the secret chorales of Wagner or Beethoven. For the answer, we need to recognize the unique roles which the Bible and Shakespeare have played in the development of Western culture. No other single work of literature has influenced modern English more than the translation of the Holy Bible published in 1611 under the auspices of King James I. The King James Bible exemplifies the meaning of the word classic. It has been called the noblest monument of English prose, the very greatest achievement of the English language. It has served as an inspiration for generations of poets, dramatists, musicians, politicians, and orators. Countless people have learned to read by repeating the phrases in this, the only book their family possessed. Our constitutions and our laws have been profoundly shaped by its cadences and imagery. But even the glory of the King James Bible, compiled by a committee of 46 editors over the course of a decade, pales before the dazzling legacy of the Swan of Avon. The lowest estimate of Shakespeare's working vocabulary is 15,000 words, more than 3 times that of the King James Bible, and twice the size of his nearest competitor, John Milton. His poems and plays were written without the aid of a dictionary or a thesaurus. They didn't exist yet. It was all in his head. When Shakespeare had a thought for which Elizabethan English had no word, he invented one. The Oxford English Dictionary lists hundreds of everyday words and phrases which made their first appearance in the pages of the Bard. Addiction, alligator, assassination, bedroom, critic, dawn, design, dialogue, employer, film, glow, gloomy, gossip, hint, hurry, investment, lonely, luggage, manager, switch, torture, transcendence, wormhole, zany. Hamlet alone contains nearly 40 of these neologisms. Who today would have this audacity, this giddy exuberance of invention? Only one other English author even approaches Shakespeare's facility for coining new words: Sir Francis Bacon. In the modern era, the record holder is Charles Dodgson, better known as Lewis Carroll, who, interestingly, also happens to be the second most quoted author in English, after Shakespeare. Everyone has been profoundly molded by the influences of the King James Bible and Shakespeare. Like it or not, all of us peer at the world through the lenses of these great works. They are the primary source documents of modern English thought, the style guides of our minds. Contemplating these dazzling jewels of wisdom and eloquence gives rise to an extraordinary feeling, a potent, rare, and precious emotion with the potential to completely upset your life. An emotion powerful enough to make a man abandon his wife and children, forfeit career and reputation, lay down his possessions, and follow his heart without questioning. That sweet, sweet fusion of wonder and fear, irresistible attraction, and soul-numbing dread known as awe. Awe is the grail of artistic achievement. No other human emotion possesses such raw, transformative power, and none is more difficult to evoke. Few and far between are the works of man that qualify as truly awesome. It is awe that convinces a rabbi to spend a lifetime decoding Yahweh from the Pentateuch. Awe that sends millions of visitors each year to the pyramids of Giza, Guadalupe, and Mecca. It was awe that drove poor Delia Bacon to her doom. Now, please don't come away from this lecture thinking that the key to awesome game design is the installation of Easter eggs. Ordinary games with their contrived Easter eggs and cheat codes are like the Battery of the Month Club. You have to trudge down to the back of the store to get what you really came for. If superpower is what people really want, why not just give it to them? Is our imagination so impoverished that we have to resort to marketing gimmicks to keep players interested in our games? Awesome things don't hold anything back. Awesome things are rich and generous. The treasure is right there. One afternoon, I was sitting alone behind the counter at that old Radio Shack store. My boss had stepped out for some reason. An elderly woman walked through the front door. Like most of our customers, she was shabbily dressed, probably on a fixed income. I assumed she was there for her free battery, but instead, she placed a portable radio on the counter. This little radio came from the days when they boasted about the number of transistors inside on the case. It was completely wrapped in dirty white medical tape. The woman looked at me and asked, "Can you fix this?" Slowly, I unwrapped the medical tape, peeling away the layers until the back cover of the radio fell off, accompanied by a cloud of red dust. The interior of the radio was half eaten away by battery leakage and corrosion. I looked at the radio. I looked at the old woman. I looked back at the radio. I reached behind me, where the expensive alkaline batteries were hanging like prescription medication, and removed a gleaming 9-volt cell from its gold blister pack. Then I pulled a brand new transistor radio from a box, installed the alkaline, and helped the lady find her favorite station. No money changed hands. She left the store without saying a word. Awesome things are kind of like that. Bach offered his students very specific insight into the source of awe. In addition to BACH, 2 other sets of initials are also associated with Bach's music. These initials are not hidden in the notes. Instead, they're scrawled right across the top of the manuscript for the whole world to see. The initials are SDG and JJ. SDG stands for the Latin phrase Sole Deo Gloria, to the glory of God alone. JJ stands for Jesu Juva, help me, Jesus. Bach wrote all of his great masterpieces sub specie aeternitatis, under the aspect of eternity. He did not compose only to please his sponsors or to win the approval of an audience. His work was his worship. Bach once wrote, "Music should have no other end and aim than the glory of God and the recreation of the soul. Where this is not kept in mind, there is no true music, but only an infernal clamor and ranting." The name of the power that moves you is not important. What is important is that you are moved. Awe is the foundation of religion. No other motivation can free you from the limits of personal achievement. Nothing else can teach you the art of flight. Computer games are barely 40 years old. Only a few words in our basic vocabulary have been established. A whole dictionary is waiting to be coined. The slate is clean. Someday soon, perhaps even in our lifetime, a game design will appear that will flash across our culture like lightning. It will be easy to recognize. It will be generous, giddy with exuberant inventiveness. Scholars will pick it apart for decades, perhaps centuries. It will be something wonderful, something terrifying, something awful. A few years ago, I was invited to speak at a conference in London. My wife joined me, and we took a day off for some sightseeing. We decided to visit England's second biggest tourist attraction, Stratford-upon-Avon. It was cold and rainy when our train arrived. Luckily, most of the attractions are just a short walk from the station. We visited Shakespeare's birthplace, a charming old house along the main street, which attracts millions of pilgrims every year, despite the complete lack of any evidence that Shakespeare was born there or even lived anywhere near it. We went past the school where Shakespeare learned to read and write, although no documents exist to prove his attendance. We visited Anne Hathaway's cottage, the rustic country farm where his wife spent her childhood, although no record shows anyone by that name ever having lived there. Finally, we came to the one location undeniably associated with Shakespeare, Trinity Parish Church, on the banks of the River Avon, where a man by that name is buried. This beautiful church is approached by a long walkway between rows of ancient gravestones, shaded by tall trees. The entrance door is surprisingly tiny. No cameras are allowed inside. The interior is dark and quiet. Despite the presence of busloads of tourists, the atmosphere is hushed and respectful. A few people are seated in the pews, deep in prayer. An aisle leads up the center of the church. The left side of the altar is brightly illuminated. On the wall above is a famous bust of the bard, quill in hand, gazing serenely at the crowd of pilgrims. On the floor beneath, surrounded by bouquets of flowers, at the very spot where Delia Bacon lost her mind, the gravestone of William Shakespeare bears this dire warning. Good friend, for Jesus' sake, forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man who spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones. Every year, 3 million pilgrims arrive from every nation on earth to approach this stone and consider the likeness of a man whose body of work can only be described as awesome. By contrast, the right side of the altar is dark and featureless. Nobody of any consequence is buried there. The only point of interest is a wooden case of simple design, carved of dark oak. Inside the case, sealed beneath a thick sheet of glass, lies a large, open book. A plaque on the case identifies this book as a first edition of the King James Bible, published in 1611, when Shakespeare was 46. Not many pilgrims visit this side of the altar. Most of those that do simply glance at the book, read the plaque, and move along. A few, more observant, note that the Bible happens to be opened to a page in the Old Testament, the book of Psalms, chapter 46. No explanation is given for this particular choice of pages. For the initiated, none is necessary. If you are of inquisitive bent, if you are intrigued by English history and literature, if you value your peace of mind, cover your ears now. In the year 1900, a scholar noticed something about the King James translation of Psalm 46. Something terrifying, something wonderful. The 46th word from the beginning of Psalm 46 is shake. The 46th word from the end is spear. There are only two possibilities here. Either this is the finest coincidence ever recorded in the history of world literature, or it is not. The Earth revolves around only one sun and has only one moon. The moon happens to be 400 times smaller than the sun. The sun happens to be 400 times farther away. And the apparent paths of the moon and sun in our sky happen to intersect exactly twice every month. Which means that every now and then, at long yet precisely predictable intervals, the lunar disk slips across the face of the sun and just barely conceals it for a few wonderful, terrible minutes. A fine coincidence, no? In June of 1977, a little man with divergent eyes and a talent for mischief ascended a hilltop in the British village of Ampthill. At the summit of this hill is a tall, slender cross, a memorial to Catherine of Aragon, the first wife of Henry VIII. The sun, high in the south, cast the shadow of the cross upon the grassy hillside. At exactly 12 noon, the man removed from his pocket a bar magnet. He turned the magnet so its north pole was facing south and buried it under the shadow of the cross. 2 years later, a few hours before the publication of his first book, the man returned to that hillside, this time in the dead of night. He used a compass to locate the magnet he had buried. In that same place, he dug a hole in the ground and placed inside a ceramic container inscribed with the following words: "I am the keeper of the jewel of masquerade, which lies waiting safe inside me for you or eternity."
忘开麦，啊，其实还蛮有趣的这个影片，只是这个影片从正面看跟从背面看完全没有差，因为它就是从这里有一个月亮，然后慢慢变化到这里，然后消失，对，就这样。好，看一下，好，加5 113加5，那个加5就是那个黑石柱。变成白石柱就会加1，所以我已经解完5个黑石柱了。我们要去解第6个了，看一下第6个啊。 哎，它在，其实我连它在哪我都不是很确定。哦，好像是那个吧，在Olympus 3那边，那个瀑布边的那一个。冲啊！先去找石柱。这里，这个。还有这么多个，是不是很夸张？还有这么多个。好，从这里开始，这两个似乎是在这里，可是确切位置跟那个要找，我只能说，总之它在天上，对，所以想办法找哦，这里有一个源头是。接哪里？这个吧。然后这样子，换另外一边。好，这边2个，然后看一下啊，好，一个是从山上看那个瀑布下面那个水的位置的那一个，就是那个已经解过了。另外一个在有点诡异的位置，我们要先上山。要怎么那个？上山？这边可以上山吗？看可以吧。我不知道讲的是哪里呢？另外一边呢？就是这个已经解，这个就是这里，这个，然后这个，哇，他指的那个地点我不知道在哪里，看起来像是半山腰，可是又，这里吗？应该不是，因为有没有路啊？ 下来进山洞的地方，应该也不是。对啊。还是要绕去那个往上山的那条路。就是在另外一边哦。就是实际上山的那个路。这里，真的要往山上跑的地方。然后，这里其实有条小路。是不是这里啊？哼，怎么有点像又不太像？对啊，他说的是这里。让我看一下。哦，他说往这里走，可是没有说在这里。哎呦，看来这条路我没来过。这里啊，顺便听一下。这形状差很多，位置在这里没有错，可是这个形状差很多Albert Einstein。可是这边就更看不到。为什么？这个总不应该有时间性啊？ 是要后退没错，可是这样就到底啊？有方法可以过到对面去吗？嗯，奇怪，他指示我从这边上来，可是，我却没有办法画到这个图。对啊，你看位置是在这里啊，是这个几个的位置为什么会这么的偏差？这个的位置是对的，但是其他的却没有对在，没有这几个都应该要凑过来。因为这个不是差一点点，我调一调就好了。这个差很多欸。这样我这个位置其实已经是点不起来了，这个位置还点得起来，可是这几片云的位置都不对啊。我以为那个是固定物件不会动欸，这看来不是欸。该不会这真的有时间性吧？重点在这，然后他没有提到任何的那个跟这个有关。好吧，我只能先跳过这一个了。这里，这个位置点了起来，就表示在这个位置看应该是对的。可是没有人移动，就表示旁边这些东西是错的。但我又不能移动这些东西，调视角也没什么用。对啊，好吧，先跳过这一个，原因不明。然后后面的是在温室，的这个发现那个哦，可是我忘记那个移动那个的方法，它会动用到那个电梯，我已经忘了怎么走那个电梯了，有点麻烦。这边有一个，这里，然后另一个得要上去，它在这里吗？对，但我已经忘记要怎么了。 需要走到底，好像有，对不对？记得当初这个是，好像这样子是不会过的，对，然后好像是我忘了，我去看一下，我真的忘记怎么回到那层楼，我看看，哼。对，就是刚刚那个，对，然后在这里。这个云是不是真的有在变？你老大的，你怎么就这样上去又下来？好了，我们出来了，耶！然后后面的是山那个 Olympus 山上那个地下城。那时候我们在弄那个浮空路线的时候。浮空路线就是其他的几乎都在山上，还蛮多是在山上。好，我们照顺序来，以免我等一下漏掉。就是有个地方解谜的时候，不是有那个吗？浮空踏板。对，就是这个。用这个。安安，没有，这里应该是没东西。就这。好，重点就是这个。这随便一个都可以。这个就是那个，你只要可以把它连得起来，然后你那个读得到就可以。这样上下不去哦。哇塞，这里，我想说，哇塞，这里不能叫电梯哦，然后他就上来。我真的想说，这里不能叫电梯哦，谁设计的？ 那如果在电梯上来的时候走过去的话，不就被压死了？原来是不能走，呵呵。看，这边真的超扯，藏在这里。Yes， 然后再来就是这个，跟这个，哇，这个不行，还是这个不行？我看一下，哦，要调，要调哦。要调，因为它那个不是说那个不行，而是说它是有，因为你这样子终点线没有出来，刚好被挡住了。哇塞，要调，看一下要怎么调，麻烦。可是这样我还有办法过来坐电梯下来吗？因为可能就变成是我要去。真的，我要去那个外面，从别的方向进来。找看一下。我看看哦。调是那边调，应该这边要调。看一下，还是说边的话，不行，那就是那边要先调。可是那边要先调，我就过不去啊。对啊，那我是不是应该先把它改成到对面去？对，哇塞，这个要调到 K 小。要改成不行，哇，真麻烦。因为你又不能那个惨了，这要怎么调？我又要可以过到对面去，又要让它可以调出。 对啊，又不能影响它，又要可以。这有什么条啊？啊，先把那个关掉。这个关掉还是回得去。还是说，我要先想办法建立一个这样，就是我可以把蓝色关掉的情况下，蓝绿色这个关掉的情况下，还能够过到对面去控制，然后根本没法动。我这个关掉，我还是可以回到对面去。然后我就可以来慢慢开这一个，像是这样。这样。可是线出来了，我回不去啊。对啊，这样的问题会在于线出来了，我回不去。然后先跑回去，这样子是不影响，就是蓝色那一条随便接都可以，但是它只要有接，像这样，门就会开。好，这样我就可以去开门。哇，超麻烦！因为唯一的终点就在那个门的地方，你一定要在门那边有那个就是最后的点一定要在门，你才能在底下画这条线。好慢，你可以快一点吧。 对，就是这个，因为这样才有终点。好，然后再来这个在哪里？山顶，要再坐回去哦。有没有？那边会有比较快的？没有。山顶好像有好几个，可是照攻略的写法的话，可能会需要跑来跑去，所以我可能会先那个吧，先跳这节，先把山顶的那些先解一解。然后你看这个很麻烦的地方在这，你要再开一次，不然你回不去。啊！错了，这样。冲啊！冲啊！我冲错地方啦！冲啊！等一下哦。好，看一下哦，在哪里？这个在哪里？应该是这边。好，这里。为什么对？这样。然后这几个先跳过，这个我拿过，这一个是刚刚用黑的做起点，这个用白的做起点。 在方块区，这在哪里？半山腰向下。这个吗？山顶好像就这样。我用半山腰向下看。所谓的半山腰向下到底是？下面吧，刚刚下面那个位置。好，然后罗马区这个在方块区，剩下都在方块区更多。这个我应该拿过。好吧，那我们要去方块区了。方块区有点多。这个是先下到方块区去。这只能上吗？其实也可以下。方便。从这里下去，然后在这里扣得到吗？这个可以耶。可是扣得到是扣得到，但是不行了，点不到。是这样子，我有办法它好像可以，因为我记得那个东西速度非常慢。哇！可是这样子，我要怎么把它？我还得想办法去另外一边了，不会吧？对啊。哇塞，这个到另外一边去就得绕一大圈呢。好像没有小路可以直接钻过去。哎，有。对，我忘了这边开了。这边是通的。可是要从这边过去也是，那可能这边的要先解。那这边的先解的话，我看一下哦。这个。不是，所以 这个结过了。哎呀，被我自己挡住了。哦，被正北气的情况发生。居然是被我自己挡住。因为它有好几个那个，我不确定我是不是解过。啊，对，没事，抱歉。因为它还是要在移动往那个方向的情况下才能点。应该没有挡住，确保不要再被我自己挡住就好了。蠢毙了，居然被自己挡住。好，就这样。所以这边2个反而先解，然后这个我应该开过，对不对？我看一下，应该是这一个吧。我忘记这个有没有开过了，记得有。要先点起来才知道。没有，什么？我居然没开过这个。好，我一直以为我开过。好，然后下一根呢？这个是。这边是红色，红色这一边不是红色，是黄的。看看啊，好吧，先弄这个吧。先调，这个是问题是我这个角度。这很尴尬，我在这个角度其实点不到。然后它又是在旋转过程中的， 旋转的过程中会有，看一下1、2、3，那等于是我这边转了以后，我要去刚刚山上这里看，然后会有3个，我要在最短的时间内把这3个接完，然后我要再跑一次刚刚的路，去另外一边。看一下，这样就变成这样。哎，诶，这样错，1、2、3，哦，错了，抱歉。冲啊！还有一个在这，一口气连冲3个地图炮，然后我又要再跑一次地图，气死我了！谁设计的机车麻烦。好，我看一下啊，因为剩下都在那里转来转去。我看一下，这边没有，这边没有。OK， 解完，然后就先回。我记得这个我有解过，这2个，是因为那个抱歉，石柱的位置离这边有点远。不方便跑过去看我那个是不是经过，所以比较快的方法还是直接到现场看，特别快。这个门为什么没开啊？那个是门没开，还是说？对，那边有个门那个门是怎么过去啊？为什么那个门会没开？绕错路。奇怪，黄色的房间在哪里？橘黄色的房间。刚本来要去找那个橘黄色的房间， 对啊，红色没有，那只能往这里走啊。啊，刚刚这个也不是。嗯，没有啊，这边就纸糊了，那边就出去了，奇怪。等一下，我叫小船。对，不要怀疑，这边有一个，不然我没事干嘛叫小船？为什么我觉得少一个房间？不是，等一下观察点在哪里？哦，这边。这里。好，没事，就这样，就只是小船叫出来，目的就是这样。奇怪，怎么少一个房间呢？还是啊，在那一边吧。那这个就会影响到这个。我看一下，这样子，然后没错，就是这样。所以我不知道他应该连去哪里。对，就这样，好，没事。然后去房间看一下。看，可是颜色有这个接过了，然后这个嘞也接过了，所以这两个应该已经拿过了。我靠，一个比一个复杂。怎样？我刚刚的那一个应该是这一个没有错，然后所以这边解完了，这个也解过了，这个等一下，然后这个。这样， 起点不见了，哼。它会停在这，不是。蓝黑接在一起，然后再把它顺时针走那个红紫接在一起走。对，还要更前面，所以要变成黑红接在一起。诶，哇，这一圈可大圈了。如果将黑红接在一起，然后我再改成红紫接在一起，它是会顺时针转，所以逆时针转。还是它只能顺时针转？那我就不用担心这个问题。还是说，等一下哦，是因为我是这样走，所以它顺时针转。如果我这样子走，它就是逆时针转。好，来试试看，照它的接法是这样。这样就对了，真的对。这种接法真的超夸张。好，终于接到了，赶快先下来。然后还有一个在这，可是。看看，诶，刚刚那个在哪？哦，所以一样要把它转过去，然后要先跳回来。 冲啊！为什么点不起来？好，我看一下我还有没有缺什么。拿的1、2，拿的这个也拿的，这个拿的，这个也拿的，跟拿的，这个拿的，这个拿的，这个拿的，这个拿的，然后这个应该拿了吧？我看一下。我去看一下这个，我记得这个，好尴尬，这一次要反方向跑过去了，我还是没找到那个，哎呦！自动侦测感应超强，那个是不是在红门那边有那个？就是要上去那条路，可以把那个门打开。我怎么记得那个门我开过？就是开那个的时候，我没有去开那个门嘛，这是蛮神奇的事情。那个云真的是有点神奇。除了那个云以外，还想说那个云以外，还有山洞里面的那一个。大概就这几个。对啊，那他那边有个门，这里有个门，那个门到底在哪里？这个门啊，它是从哪个地方通过来？看起来像是从雷射那边通过来。我居然这个门没开，真的蛮神奇。我先去看一下那个云到底是可以点了没有？看一下位置到底有没有变。那如果没有变的话，我就真的不知道为什么，因为我刚那个位置，那个是点得起来的，对啊，好像有变又好像没有变，对啊，这个东西点得起来，可是我就没办法画，因为这边是断开，完全断开的，可是人家贴的那个图示它却是连着的。对，好吧，我要去山洞里头，我要回那个山洞区。山洞区在哪里？啊，刚刚山 上来的那个地方，走错路，这边应该就有一条路可以进去。哦，还有一个在这。我点过，好，这没问题，这我点过。然后山洞区，刚刚我们经过那个瀑布的那个地方，应该是有道门可以进去山洞区。这里，然后在那。就是解原著的这个地方，在这里。角度，这样，好，我再确认一次。这个也没有。好，这个。应该就差云的那一个，我可以去，那从哪一个出去？我还是从刚刚那个出去好。我们回黑石柱那里去看，就知道。我走对路了，这里。对啊，就差那一个。原因不明好啦，反正就是刚刚那一个了，好不好？我只能这样讲，就是刚刚那一个了。然后那个解完，应该就是全都开了。但你问我为什么它不开，我真不知道。那个云的位置应该要是对的，对。那原因不明的，它居然是不对的。非常诡异的，它居然是不对的。我有找到那个点，可是那个云的位置却不对了，我也不知道为什么。对，我不是没有找到，我有找到。太奇怪啦！太奇怪啦！我做一件事情试试看。把游戏关掉重开。还是不行，就这样了。反正知道那个位置就好。好，不行，好啦，那就只能到这边了。反正就是那样子啦，这样就是全解。好吧，那就到这边啦。希望我之后还有机会自己把那个顶开。好啦，就这样啦。黑石柱到这边，那先结束喽，啵啵。